Welcome back. We have our first speaker, who is Renee Noble, kicking us off at 9:45 Sydney time, and 9:15 Adelaide time. She's doing the talk, How COVID Broke Our Program for the Better. And Renee is the National Director of the Girls Programming Network, also referred to as GPN, and a software developer at the edtech company Grok Learning. Her first exposure to programming was stumbling upon it while studying at Sydney University, and she was quick to add a CS major to her chemical engineering and chemistry pursuits. Given this late introduction to tech, Renee's passion is making coding education exciting and accessible to everyone. Okay, Renee.
Fantastic. Hi, everybody. Amanda's given me an awesome intro, so I'm really excited to have you all here today to tell you about Outbreak Outreach, how COVID broke our program for the better. In this crazy time of everything going online, we wanted to ensure that girls still had an opportunity to be involved with technology and to continue to cultivate the community that's been running with GPN for nearly 12 years now. And we didn't want to lose that momentum that we have. And don't want to lose those girls who've become interested in technology, and we don't want to lose that opportunity. So I'm going to tell you some of the things that we tried in taking GPN online, and some of the things that were hard, some of the things that were great, and what we're going to keep doing not only with our GPN online pursuits, but how we might bring some of these aspects back to our real life programs in a post-COVID world. So as Amanda's already introduced me mostly, I'm a software engineer at Grok Learning in addition to being the National Director of the Girls Programming Network. GPN's been running, I've taken GPN National about 4 years ago, so we've got 6 nodes running around the country now, as well as several lined up to start up. COVID's just put a little bit of a stop in that for a little while, but we wanted to keep this community running online. So yeah, I'm going to tell you about how I've taken both GPN and Grok as well. It's been a very useful thing to have a coding edtech platform as my other job, and these are two already very connected communities and programs. So I'm going to take you through how we've done this. But firstly, what is GPN? Lots of you have heard me talk before at PyCon about GPN, and normally I'm talking here about the kind of content that I produce and talking specifically about the Python and how different structures and things help us run GPN. But I'm going to tell you more today about what GPN actually is, because in pulling it off online, we can take most of the existing content and things that we teach, but it's really important what it actually is. So for those of you who haven't heard of it before today, we run free coding workshops run by women and gender diverse people for girls and gender diverse kids. To provide a low barrier entry for students as well as the tutors to become part of our community to help increase gender diversity and to give them an authentic programming experience and to see how we can use programming to change the world and do it in a supportive community. So in taking GPN online, it was really important to consider what we consider our values in providing GPN in real life and to make sure we could actually deliver those online. Because if we're going to deliver a substandard program online, I'd rather not be delivering something that might turn girls off programming and alienate them from it further or make them think it's boring or too hard and they don't have the support that they need. So when we consider GPN, we think we need a challenging, authentic programming experience where girls can really understand the code that they're writing and how it can impact the world by learning more stuff. We need to make sure everything's fun. It shouldn't be tedious, like something they have to do. And there should be fun engagements between different people. Everything needs to be social, the opportunity to talk about what you're working on rather than sit quietly and do your own work. So you're talking to your peers, making friends and connecting with the tutors and making sure that the tutors are aspirational and relevant. So making sure that we have a variety of tutors, whether they're 19 years old and starting their degree, they're doing their first internship, or they've been working in the industry for years, making sure that girls can see that lit pathway from where they are to where they might want to be in technology. And we need a diverse range of people, students as well as tutors, to show that all kinds of girls and gender diverse people can be involved in technology. You don't have to be a nerdy girl necessarily. You can be a sporty girl, you can be a crafty kid, and you could love cooking or dancing, and they all fit in this tech world. And finally, we need the network aspect. Not only just meeting and connecting with your peers and the tutors, But knowing that there's a network around Australia that you can connect into to light your pathway into the world of tech and whatever you want to do in it. So it's really important to think about what actually happens at the event. Normally it's like we have fun and we do coding and things happen. But in executing it online, we needed to look in depth at everything that actually happens. So what we have on the day, we have coding and creating, of course. We also have mini lectures to deliver content and give the girls an opportunity to engage with each other and with the lecturers and to learn as a team. We have unplugged activities and games, and we ensure that there's lots of fun things that aren't necessarily just coding. We have awesome tutors, and we have a mentoring program for our older girls. And we have lots of food, lots of fun, and lots of opportunities to make friends. And to give you, so that's kind of the list of the things that we have, but to kind of get the vibe of what's going on, we've got this little video put together by one of our awesome tutors, Amara, a couple of years ago, that really gives you the vibe of the day. And that's what we really want to cultivate online as well. It's not enough to just be like, well, we've ticked off all the things on the list. We want to make sure it feels like GPN and it feels like you've come into an event, because that's what really GPN really is. It's not just something you drop in and out of. You're there for the day, there for the whole experience. So when trying to take GPN online, we thought about what do girls like about GPN. So we looked at the thousands of survey responses we've had from the last decade and said, what do they love about it? And we can see from this word cloud here that they really love coding and learning and programming and making games and things like that, and they found it interesting and challenging. And we can look at a few of the specific quotes. I think GPN is great because we can learn about coding in a fun environment and work together with other people. The tutors and the skills that you take away, making something is so rewarding, and of course the free pizza and chocolate. So we started to realize, and we kind of already knew, that the girls love coding and things, but there's a lot of other things they also love, which might be a bit difficult when we go online. So something that girls love is GPN is different than school. GPN is better than the stuff we learn at school because it's really fun. Nothing is too strict, not like school. The tutors are kind and helpful, and you still learn. So much fun. We met new friends, and I learned way more than we learn at school. So taking it online, we've realized that they also know that they're doing a bunch of homeschooling, and we can't make it feel too much like that, because it's a big ask to ask girls to sign up for a few hours of their weekend to do more of something that they might be finding tedious and difficult. We also are in this socially isolated time of the world, and they say they really like meeting new people. It's really interesting to find out about others, that you make many new friends. And there's plenty of food. There should be more pizza. The pizza was good. The lollies were good. So we want to make sure that they still get those interactions with each other, as well as, well, we can't really give them these last bits. The food, the pizza, the lollies, a big draw card for GPN that we saw littered throughout our word cloud, and there's just no way we can provide that online. So we're going to have to think about new ways to make those incentives for coming along, for getting engaged with lectures. You know, normally you win a lolly or something. And we need to think of new ways to have girls interacting and still make sure they're making friends. So some of the things seemed obvious how to do online. I work at Grok Learning. Grok Learning is highly related to GPN, and they go way back, and it's the Learn to Code platform used around Australia. So that was an obvious thing to do. When we go online, it's obviously we're going to bring our nice tutors that they know and love. And mentoring seemed like a thing that would be easy to do. You know, we can just have Zoom calls or something like that. They seem like obvious things we could do. However, food, pizza, lollies, garlic bread, very into garlic bread, all off the cards. Not something we can do, especially in, a shoestring budget. We can't be delivering pizzas all around Australia or all around Sydney. It's just too difficult, too expensive. So that's off the cards, and that's going to be something we really need to make up for. And we need to make sure it's fun and different from school, which is, we don't really know how to do that. So I need to ask about what is school like and how can we change that. And we need to think about unplugged activities. Normally our unplugged activities are big mazes drawn on the ground, or a scavenger hunt where you solve ciphers all around the building. So those won't look quite the same. So we went forward thinking there's some obvious things, and there's some obvious things we really need to consider. So how are we going to do this? So we thought about creating an MVP, minimal viable product, for this. Because we just wanted to start off, see if it was good at all. Maybe it would be terrible, no girls would want to come at all, and maybe it's just not possible to pull off online. So we thought about people as a key thing. Girls love to get to know the tutors, make friends, work in teams, and be part of a big event that shows them that there is a world of girls and women out there that love being involved in technology. They love the learning, and we needed to make sure we could give them that learning experience, and we have to have a variety of a learning material that's suitable for both beginners and girls who've been coming to GPN for years. And we need to do more than coding. We need fun games. We need to be able to do mentoring, unplugged activities, make them see the real-world relevance of the things that they're learning. So those all seemed like, essential things, but they seemed like things we could surmount with some method or another. But there were some new challenges that were, front of mind. So we need to make sure it was not too long. GPN normally is a 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. program, so that's 6 hours. And even then, it's just like, oh, I wish we could have more time. But, the girls' attention spans would wane by the end of that. So with this, we're like, we really can't ask them to sit still online for 6 hours. What are we going to do? We needed to think of non-lolly incentives for engagement. So getting them to answer questions or ask questions in lectures, and to get them to do the unplugged activities, like, is there a prize at the end? What kind of things can we make them excited about, especially given there's no pizza and there's no lollies? We need to make sure it's not like homeschooling and make it fun and different from that. We wanted to keep doing our mentoring, but normally we have our mentoring for our older girls and we have unplugged activities for our younger girls. So we needed a simple activity that didn't involve a scavenger hunt or printing out lots of things and putting them around a building that our younger students could do at the same time, but was still valuable. And we just needed to think about a lot of logistics for all this online stuff, especially since we're dealing with piles of children. So here are some of the things that we thought would come in handy when we put it all together. So we need to deal with all the morning logistics. We need to work out what level of the girls are at so we can put them in a room where they're going to be happy but also be with their friends. We need to play some fun games to get them all settled in and having a hyped up fun time. So we thought of welcome pods for the morning arrival time. Then we thought about classroom pods for our main part of the day. For most of GPN, they're in classrooms of 20 to 30 girls and about 5 to 8 tutors. That doesn't really work online. You want people to be able to talk, but you can't have 30 people talking on VC at the same time. That will be intense and just a nightmare. So we thought of small teams where they could learn together, and they could also do fun things as a team, different activities, bonus activities, that we'd have to incentivize them to do somehow. We thought about lecture pods. For girls to go and pop into for scheduled lectures from their classroom pods for whatever concept they needed at the time. This would mean that girls in the same pod, if they were slightly separated in where they're up to, could go to the different lectures and get the information they need then, and split them up and give that opportunity to see the girls in the other pods, see how the other girls are going with their bonus activities, and have some intra-team spirit for each of the classroom pods by interacting with the bigger picture. We then wanted to keep our mentoring up, and that seemed fairly obvious. You can just have a VC with a small group of girls and some tutors, and normally our tutors rotate around in person, so that seemed like something we could probably pull off in the virtual world. That was no worries, but to have something for the younger girls to do at the same time, we thought show and tell is something we could do, because we don't get a lot of opportunities for people to demonstrate the work that they've done. So we thought we'll get the tutors to demonstrate some of the cool projects they've been building, and also students could come along and demonstrate a cool project that they've done for school. So those are the things that we're like, okay, how do we fit these all in? So we put these into our schedule. So we had girls coming in the morning for our welcome games in small groups where they could do little games and make sure they're all sorted, have their VC settings and everything set up, and then have a big welcome all together and introduce all of the tutors and the idea for the day, and then break up into some pods where they can do icebreaker activities, get to know each other, do the coding, have their dedicated tutors there to support them, and also do some breakout activities, which I'll get to shortly. And then they'll drop out into different pods for the lectures when they need those concepts. And then we went with during lunch, because we had this starting at 9 a.m. and then to finish off, we want to have lunch, and the students can show and tell some of their projects, and tutors can show and tell their projects while the kids are eating, and we can have mentor hangs for the older girls during lunch, and then bring everybody back together for the end of the day. So that's what we went with. And then we just had to work out how to actually execute this with a tech stack. So we had to consider how do we create this event? What parts need to interact? How does tutoring work online when we can normally just go and pop up next to a student? We needed to manage child safety. We needed to manage making sure everyone can have a fun atmosphere together. We needed to manage how tutors can talk to each other behind the scenes to make sure everything happens smoothly. And we needed to make sure that they could do fun coding activities online and get that individualized help that they do get at GPN. So this is what we came up with in terms of our VC. So we have put all of our things into this crazy looking map, and I'll tell you why it was a bit crazy later, but it definitely looks crazy, and that should have probably been our first indication of it was going to be an interesting ride making this happen. So we have girls being moved between rooms throughout the day, popping into lectures out of their pods. And yeah, so this is why we decided to go with Zoom, because it has the option to use breakout rooms. And that's how we were going to manage having all of these pods. And then the good thing about Zoom is you can assign people to different pods and they're from the main area, and then just ping them out to all their pods when you're ready to go. So having lots of breaks to make sure we could do all of that assigning work is what we had to do. So that was the madness that we created for our video logistics section. And then, of course, for our Learn to Code platform, we went with Grok, of course, because I work there, but also because it's awesome and it has lots of cool features, and I'm going to show you why they were super handy for running GPN online. And there was also a bunch of material we could use when we're getting started up, because we didn't want to have to transfer all of our material immediately, because we were having a hard enough time getting all of these crazy logistics worked out. So here's one of the key things that Grok is great for. If you've done the NCSS challenge, you'll know there's live tutoring available. Whoop. So we've got our student who might be having a little bit of trouble on a problem. She's asking for some help. It pops up in our live tutoring view where our dedicated tutors will see that a student from their pod is having a little bit of trouble, and they can just message back to the student, and the student can get the help that they need without having to talk over the Zoom to everybody, not only just so we clear the airways, but also because maybe they're a bit shy and they don't want to ask in public. So this is a really efficient way to get girls all communicating with tutors in parallel, and also have a space in the VC for the more fun, casual conversations, or discussing things that people are having issues as a whole group, like concepts that they might need a small revision on. And of course, there was more stuff to make it all work backstage. We had a Slack for all the tuners to communicate, and a highly refined, fully integrated pile of things. Because it was just our MVP, we just had tons of spreadsheets and all sorts of magic just to keep the day running. We did have one custom-built thing, though, that we built for the day, which was to foster that spirit of camaraderie and have fun, and to engage the team as a whole. And this was what we called our bingo board. And we, as with bingo, of course, you get points or you win for completing a row of the things. So our bingo board is full of different breakout activities that girls could do throughout the day or do as a team. And they would get to work as a team to do these fun, exciting things, whether it's drawing on the Zoom whiteboard or doing some star jumps, and to give their team points, because at the end of the day, we needed something to get them engaged. So we designed this point system, so asking questions in lectures got you points, completing these things in your pods got you points, and we let the teams each name their own pod, and then at the end of the day, we had the big reveal at the closing ceremony who had won the day. So how did it all go? Well, we've done 2 tests so far. We had test 1, Operation Apple Pie. We're very dessert focused here at GPN. We had 15 diehard students who've been coming to GPN for years. Proficient programmers, because we didn't want to juggle too many different capability ranges at this stage. And we wanted people who wouldn't judge us terribly if it went wrong. How did it go? It went great. We were so surprised how well it went for a first off. And the girls loved all the interactive activities. They loved drawing on the Zoom whiteboards. Here are some of the things from the day. And they loved the breakout activities. Here's something where they all made origami and took a screen capture from the day. But there were some hard parts. It was hard to keep track of where the students were up to because tutors, it was hard to ask them or hover over their shoulder like they normally would. And we really learnt that the Zoom logistics online is hard and we needed a lot more practice and we lost a lot of time in the day. They loved the breakout activities so much they barely got any coding done, which is a problem. So there were some things to fix. Firstly, we decided to use Grok's new live classroom feature, which was developed for COVID, which would help us identify how students were going, who's stalling on a problem, who's completed things, and where the whole class is up to as a whole. And we needed to make the bingo more task-focused to make them encouraged to actually do the problems in Grok. And we just needed a lot more practice on Zoom as well. So we carried those forward into our second test, Operation Banana Bread. We aim to have 50 intermediate or higher level beginners to the full advanced range of students attending. We only got 32 regos, so it's still a bit hard to get girls attending. But GPN, the original, in-person version, took a while to get people up and running, getting them coming along, and we needed people to bring their friends along. So we're hoping the same will happen here. And all these girls had attended many GPNs before. They just did a variety of levels this time. How did it go? Well, there still wasn't enough coding time, even now we had some practice. They still had fun, but it was not as much fun because we did have a lot of those bingo activities focused on doing coding, and because they didn't have enough time in the day to do all the coding, they didn't feel like they were achieving things. But show and tell was a huge hit. This time around, we had even more technical presentations, and they loved all the applications they could see. And we had to work out how to put the girls into different groups based on how much programming they'd done before, because these were a diverse range of levels. And it was tricky working out and doing that with a spreadsheet where normally we're just sticking colored stickers on girls and they help us do it on the day. So those were some of the hard things that we worked out. And now what are we going to do next is the real question. So we're going to keep going with our online model, of course, because we're still in this situation we're all too familiar with. One great thing is Grok is hoping to release soon, and I'll be testing some incremental projects. So you can complete a problem, and then it will help you by pulling that progress you've made into the next question. Because GPN isn't GPN without our custom projects that give girls the opportunity to make these creative but built up projects throughout the day. So we'll be testing that, and hopefully you'll be seeing something like that soon on Grok. What else? We want more automation. We want to have more custom pages for our breakout activities, making the points visible all the time to keep the girls encouraged, making it easy for tutors to add points, and also having more fun interactive UI pages for doing some more unplugged activities. Well, we could do some simple ciphers and things like that with just getting girls to do it on paper. If we can build some custom UIs, we can do some very interesting algorithms. Also, we need to work on automating the streaming because it's just a nightmare. It's only going to get harder from here. So yes, bringing things more as we get further from the MVP, taking things out of spreadsheets, which aren't very exciting ways to explain who the winner is, and making everything run smoothly. Also, time was the biggest issue. So we're getting rid of the lecture pods because they were a nightmare. If you've used Zoom at breakout rooms, only the Zoom manager person can move people between breakout rooms. So we had one person having to dedicate the whole day to moving people in and out of the different pods, which was just too hard. And it's only going to get harder with more girls. So instead, we're going to be moving to a traveling lecture series where different lecturers will pop into different rooms. They'll have well-practiced lectures that they dart around between different pods to deliver, and we'll make it speedy to make sure we have more time for coding and more time for breakout activities to get both of the important parts of the day happening while still getting them to be part of a group learning experience. And it'll be great to have those pod visitors coming in as an interlude to break up the day. What else are we going to do? Well, we want to reach more girls with our GPN Online model. So we're going to be trying to get it out to regional girls once we've got it up and running, to give it to girls who wouldn't actually ever be able to attend a GPN in person. And the great thing is, if we can establish enough girls coming from different more regional communities, if we can get a pocket of them, we might actually be able to start a GPN in person, which would be great to bootstrap it online to start the community and roll it out in real life in the post-COVID world. It's also great for tutors connecting online, and it would be great to train people to start up new GPN nodes around the country while we're still have these travel bans and restrictions on events. We also think there's lots of stuff we can take away from what we've learned online and bring it back to our real life program. So breakout activities, the girls love them. Why don't we just do them in real life in the classrooms to have that team spirit? And why don't we have these fun points in real life as well? And also, show and tell was a huge hit. We could have it as an optional lunch activity to get people seeing what women and girls are doing with their technology knowledge. So why not bring those all back to the real life program in the post-COVID era? So that's everything we've tried out. It's been an interesting experience. Send me a message if you're keen to know more. Jump online to see how you can become a tutor here at girlsprogramming.network. And if you like the slides, you can jump online here as well. Thanks for coming along.
Hello. Well done, Renee. First talk off the rank.
Yes, thanks for having me.
There won't be time to answer any questions, which is a shame, but we're going to ask you to head over to Venulous and answer some of them there. And I've compiled a list of them so that you know exactly what people are asking, so you don't have to scroll through the entire stream.
Fantastic.
But thank you very much. You did so good. And we now have a 10-minute break, so you can definitely stay here or go and check out one of the other tracks and come back here in 10 minutes for our next talk, which is Fernando Masanori. And yeah, thank you very much for kicking off our education track for 2020.
Yay, thanks for having me. See you all in the hallway.